Professional football in America is a special game, a unique game. Played nowhere else on earth, it is a rare game. The men who play it make it so.
Hey, baby, let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. Have some fun.
Coming now, buddy. We on our horse all day long. Let's just kick that butt all day long. Pick it up. Don't stop. Pick it up. Let's go.
Get after the ball. Get to somebody.
Welcome to This Week in Fantasy Football. I'm Mike Cardano. This is my sidekick, Scott Engel. We established last week that you were my sidekick, right?
Well, if you want your sidekick to be more famous than you are, go right with it.
My sidekick, yeah. Scott the King Engel.
Whatever blows your doors back, you know.
Week 4 preseason just finished up, a week of worthless games. But we do have some news to cover as we get ready for the fantasy football season.
We'll make a point, though.
What's that?
As a Jet fan, you do have a full season
full
of worthless games ahead.
Yeah.
Yes.
They do. I wonder if they'll get blacked out.
Probably. They should be, though, anyway. Nobody should be allowed to watch that.
Okay, Bengals rookie Giovani Bernard. He finished the season with 3 one-yard touchdowns. So is he the go-to guy on the goal line? And Ben Jarvis Green Ellis finished with 0 touchdowns on the season. So
I think there's what people want to happen, but is not what necessarily going to happen. I think they wanted to see what Giovani Bernard can do in such situations, because being able to run near the goal line is an intangible skill in the NFL. Some guys can do it. Reggie Bush can do it. But for some reason, Matt Forte hasn't been able to do it for a long time. Barry Sanders wasn't able to do it. I think a lot of people want to assume that Giovani Bernard is going to become a pure featured back. That's not how the Bengals view it. They want these guys to split a workload. Giovani Bernard is the open space guy and the guy who's going to be catching passes. Let's not forget that Ben Jarvis Green Ellis was an 1,000-yard runner last year who played very well down the stretch. These guys are going to complement each other. Fantasy players want Giovani Bernard to be the feature back because Ben Jarvis Green Ellis is not sexy, but that's not the way it's going to happen. And I'm not saying Gio won't get goal line carries. Because he can do it and he's proving it, I think that gives them another way to challenge defenses. You don't know who they're really going to use at the goal line, but Ben Jarvis Green Ellis is still the clear inside runner on this team. This is going to be a timeshare.
Well, I'll point out during the game that Ben Jarvis drove him all the way down the field, and then when they got to the goal line, he came out and Giovani went in.
I think that's experimental in the preseason, though. You've seen over the last few years that Ben Jarvis Green Ellis is a good goal line runner. I'm not saying they'll never use Giovani Bernard, but you're certainly not going to see him usurp Ben Jarvis Green Ellis as the goal line guy based on preseason experimentation.
Okay, all right. Oakland Raiders, Dennis Allen said he's chosen his starting quarterback, but he's not going to tell us. I guess, I don't know, at some point was he on the Jets staff? He's operating the same way. It's a big secret here. Does it matter for fantasy participants who's the...
I think it slightly matters if you're like in a 20-round draft and you want to take Terrelle Pryor and say the 17th.
Well, he would have more upside potential than Matt.
Yes,
right?
he would, because he can run the ball. We've seen these hybrid-type quarterbacks be able to put up pretty good numbers. Even Joe Webb at one point. We had the Roto Experts in-house draft this week, and I took Terrelle Pryor in the 17th round. But the Raider beat writers are suggesting that they actually rotate Flynn and Pryor because the situation is so bleak. That team is just so disgusting.
This way, the team has to at least game plan for 2 of them, right?
Yeah. This is the price that these fans have paid for being bullies for so many years.
Well, he did play at the end of last season in the regular season game. It was a meaningless regular season game, and he did pretty well.
Well, it seems like he's got more upside than Flynn. But a lot of people make fun of Matt Flynn and they rip him. Matt Flynn's only going to be able to do something if you surround him with talent. Well, and there's no talent around him.
Let's go over to Matt Flynn here. So Flynn was paid a lot of money. They brought him into Seattle, and he got beat out by somebody who was not expected, at least when he came there, to win the starting job. So he got beat out last year by a rookie. Now he comes to Oakland, still getting paid, where the guy he's up against is just kind of a work in progress, and he may be beat out again. What does that say about Matt Flynn? You got to
look at it 2 different situations. Let's not spend a lot of time on this because it ain't fantasy relevant at all. Russell Wilson played way above expectations last year and would have beat a lot of other people out. You know, Matt Flynn, if they would have put him in the offense, he would have been respectable. The Seahawks wouldn't have went to the NFC Divisionals with Matt Flynn, but they still would have been a respectable offense. This year, he's in a situation with the Raiders where, not a lot of drop back quarterbacks are just going to succeed. There's no playmakers for him.
All right, let's go back over to the other coast here in New York, and the Giants with Andre Brown out now, at least for a major part of the first half of the season. David Wilson, a lot of people now are expecting that he's going to be the feature back, the workload, and all that. He is going to get more touches than he would have, obviously. But my thing is I think it's more of a downer for Eli Manning than it is a positive for him, because at this point he just can't block, and that's not good for the Manning in the passing game.
Yeah, but also means Manning might throw a little. I think people are going to naturally assume he gets more carries, but I don't think the Giants are comfortable with the idea of this guy being a workhorse. I don't think he's proven anywhere to the degree in the NFL that he can carry a heavy load. I think that the Giants, they might go out and sign somebody. I wouldn't be surprised to see him make a trade. I don't think you assume that David Wilson becomes a bell cow because of this. I like David Wilson as a number 2 fantasy running back with upside, but I have no reason to believe yet. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I don't have any reason to believe that this guy can handle 25 carries a game. I just don't see it.
What about 25 touches total?
I just don't see it yet. I think this is a guy that you need to. There was a reason why they had Andre Brown there sharing a workload with him.
Well, I thought it was more of goal line and pass protection, but he
exactly
clearly didn't have the upside in the running.
Exactly, but Andre Brown's also more accomplished inside runner.
Yeah. Okay. All right. In Kansas City, interestingly, the Kansas City Star set the over/under of his touches at 280. So, do you think he gets more or less than 280?
I think that's about right for Jamal Charles.
So, listen to this.
Yeah.
He got 320 touches last year, right? And the way I looked at it was, with Andy Reid calling the plays, I looked up LaShawn McCoy last year in 12 games, got 254 touches. So, if you carry that out, you're looking at like 338 touches. Do you just not believe he gets used like LaShawn McCoy? You don't think he's
he's
that
not
way?
the same running back as LaShawn McCoy.
He's going to get screen passes.
He's going to get screen passes. We know he can catch the ball, but he's not the inside runner that LaShawn McCoy is, and LaShawn McCoy's not the open space guy that he is. He's not the goal line runner that LaShawn McCoy is, so he's not going to score double-digit touchdowns. Still, what's not to love about Jamal Charles in a PPR this year? I just don't think, though. I think if he catches more passes, though, you might see his rushing totals go down, so... but that's good in a PPR because you might want to see more catches.
Where do you have him ranked running back-wise in a PPR?
I have him ranked 4 overall.
You can't complain with that. I don't know if people are looking for more than that.
Behind Peterson, Doug Martin, and Marshawn Lynch. And if people question why I have Marshawn Lynch over in a PPR, because even in a PPR, you cannot question Lynch's combination of durability, being a bell cow workhorse, and having that load, and the nearly guaranteed double-digit touchdowns in a better offense than Kansas City.
Okay. All right, let's go down to Atlanta. Now, Steven Jackson is now in Atlanta, correct? Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he's keeping up. Look at that.
In St. Louis, don't bang my table. In St. Louis, they're left with Daryl Richardson, Isaiah Peed, and Zach Stacy. Now, am I reading this right? Is Richardson the guy with the fantasy value there? Who's got the fantasy value? Now, Pete's coming back in week 2, right? He's suspended?
Yeah, but here's the thing. Richardson is the guy. He's looked better this preseason, running inside. Last year, he was really an outside big play guy. Defenses adjusted to him and shut him down the stretch. I think he's learned something from that. Isaiah Peed, when he's been into the preseason, he hasn't looked good, and I have no confidence that he can do even better than when the lights go on in the regular season. This is Daryl Richardson's job to lose. Zach Stacy is not a factor.
Okay. In Chicago, Brandon Marshall. Boy, has he been whining and complaining about his hip. All right, so this has been his 3rd surgery. Is this all a ruse, a big smoke screen? I mean, isn't Jay Cutler just going to fade back and throw it to Marshall, whether he's open or not, healthy or not? That's who he throws the ball to.
Yeah, pretty
right?
much. But it looks like he's going to be ready for week 1. And there's just a lot of public complaining, like we've heard from Brandon Marshall before. But, I think you have to put some legitimacy to it, to the point where I dropped him from number 3 to number 7 in my wide receiver rankings.
Interesting.
Yeah, because when you're talking about the very top guys, if a guy is a minor red flag, I think you want to bump him down.
When the king makes a move, that's news.
It is. I mean, I'm not going to overrate it to the point where I'm going to drop him like I did Jordy Nelson with the hamstring, and now Jordy's back up. It's a minor issue that when you're talking about your 2nd round pick, I don't know if you can be that confident in the early second round. Much rather have an A.J. Green or a Des
You just
Bryant.
broke news here on the show. Did you realize that?
I did?
Yeah.
How?
You dropped him in your rankings.
Yes, that's Breaking King News, an
Okay.
exclusive Edge fantasy football package. My ranks are updated.
Now, the other thing that I've been hearing a lot of, in addition to Brandon Marshall and his hip, is Roddy White and his ankle. Now, in Atlanta on local radio, they keep talking. Somebody started a rumor that it's a high ankle sprain and it's
That
doomed.
got shot down.
It's doomed. Now he hasn't played for a while. The way I looked at it was it's going to be 24 days until he between when he had the injury and when he plays. That and he hasn't missed a game in his career, so he's full throttle in game 1. Correct?
Yeah,
no doubts.
The guy's never missed a game in his career.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rumors of a high ankle sprain got shot down. This could be
They
just
still
a
not
thing.
play.
This could be just be a thing of where they're kind of being covert to throw the opposition off, and you see that a lot.
That's where the Jets thrive. They're covert in everything they do.
Teams will be the Jets don't have to be covert. Everybody's going to know they're terrible.
They're covert.
So there's nothing they can be covert about. They're not going to fool anybody. But back to what teams do. Sometimes they're very covert and to the vest with injuries not because they don't care about your fantasy team. Well, they don't.
Bill Belichick.
But they want to keep the opposition off balance.
All right, let's move on. Trent Richardson. He dropped 10 pounds, apparently. This is what everybody's telling me. He dropped 10 pounds, and then all of a sudden he's going to be a beast. And I've met a number of people who want to move him up right behind Adrian Peterson.
Can't do it.
Fool's gold?
Can't do it. Not fool's gold, but can't do it.
Why?
If I knew Trent Richardson was going to stay healthy, he might be my number 2 running back.
Really?
He might be my number 3. But the guy has such a violent running style. And when I say violent running style, it's not like Marshawn Lynch's violent running styles. There are different violent running styles. Marshawn Lynch puts his head down and he keeps moving and he carries guys on his back.
What does Richardson do?
What Richardson does is he'll hit a linebacker as hard as he hits him in the open field. This guy is reckless abandon, a bowling ball in the open field, and because of his running style, he's always going to be vulnerable
Isn't that
to
what
injuries.
Peterson does?
No. Peterson
He just runs over you.
No. Peterson
It's like
makes
Earl Campbell.
No, Peterson, no. He's not anything like Earl Campbell. Peterson makes people miss. He has terrific vision. He hurdles over people. He does a better job of preserving his body than, say, Trent Richardson, who just... He doesn't care. Bang, bang, bang. And, that's going to lead to more injuries.
So you're not buying it. You still rank him pretty high.
I like him a lot as
But
a
you're not.
runner.
You don't
I can't
think he
rank
can
him
play
number
16
3,
healthy
though.
games? Okay.
We've already seen him get too banged up already.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to somebody else who people have been waffling on, and that's Tavon Austin. So he was the number 8 pick in the draft. And half the people I speak to say, well, he's 5'8", 174 pounds, he can't do anything, yada, yada, yada. But that's what they said about Deshaun Jackson.
I think
He worked out pretty well for fantasy.
I think
players.
Tavon Austin will eventually, be a big playmaker for the Rams. I just don't see it happening this year. Everything that I've seen in the preseason tells me that Tavon Austin is going to take a while to acclimate to the NFL. I don't think the fantasy numbers are going to be there in year 1. I think 2014 is his year.
Okay, you heard it. Okay, in Carolina, Jonathan Stewart out for a while. Or he's got problems with both ankles, I think. DeAngelo Williams. Does his value go up because of it, or not so much?
Not so much. Williams has a starting job. You'll take him maybe as an RB3 or an RB4. Cam Newton still a big part of that offense. Williams will have a pretty good game occasionally once in a while.
Mike Tolbert?
Mike Tolbert is going to get the goal line carries. Newton's going to get goal line carries. You're looking at maybe a step up from Pierre Thomas, which is not a whole lot.
Okay. I didn't realize he only had 415 carries over the last 3 years. I thought he had more than that, which means he's got some tread on the tires left in him. And he's 30 years old, but he's been around for a while. I just assumed he was used more than that, but I guess he split the time with Stewart, so he didn't.
He did split a lot of time with Stewart, but
Yeah.
he had that one beautiful season that he never lived up to again.
Right. All right, we have some questions for the King. Okay, some
I'm
viewers.
ready. I'm ready.
Barry in Oberlin, Ohio. Not sure where that is. I know there's a college there.
Hey, Barry.
Do Kevin Olgetree and Tiquan Underwood have any fantasy appeal?
No. Next question.
Neither. None of them.
No.
Okay.
No fantasy appeal unless you're playing in like a 32-team league. These to me, the two wide receivers that are number 3 receivers that don't start for their teams. Obviously,
Ogletree's the number 3, right?
Yeah,
and then
obviously T.Y. Hilton.
Right.
But the other guy, Kenny Stills of the New Orleans Saints. I love everything I see about this guy.
Okay. And Tiquan Underwood, why? Because he's from Rutgers?
No, I don't care where he went.
The
to
Big Ten
college.
now. We lost a Fresno.
What I care where he went to college?
I'm just saying.
Why do I care where guys went to college? What does it have to do with their fantasy relevance? He didn't mention Rutgers.
He wants you to talk about the two guys. You said nothing about Underwood, so I'm trying to
provoke
provoke
no
you.
fantasy relevance.
Right, Barry, I'm sorry if you're an Underwood guy.
I like you, Barry.
Okay. Karen.
Hey, girl.
In Carbondale, Pennsylvania, wants to know, when it comes to taking a kicker at the end of a draft, how do I know who to pick? Do I look for a team that I think doesn't have a good offense, suggesting that they'll have to settle for field goals? So when she gets to that pick, how does she evaluate? How does she distinguish between?
You have any
the third
dice or darts or anything?
Is that how you do it?
Because that's how basically, Karen, don't overthink.
Give some value to the show here.
Don't overthink kickers, okay? They're very random from year to year. You could talk about indoors and stuff like this.
Well, what
from
do you
year
use
to year,
to pick your kicker?
From year to year, that
you got to pick
kickers are so random. A guy that looks good one year can be terrible the next.
Well, answer the question.
I am answering the question.
Jesus.
Can you let me finish?
I'm sorry.
You do so many videos
Don't bang my table.
all week now that you're trying to hog up my time.
Go ahead.
But, with kickers, there's so many. From one year to the next, you really can't tell what guys are all of a sudden going to fall off the map. This is why 40-year-olds come back and get jobs. If they change the holder, it can throw a kicker off.
You're shirking the issue. How do you evaluate
I'm not
the kicker?
finished.
What do you pick?
Who do I pick? Well, we got our kicker ranks on rotoexperts.com. There's only 12 kickers that really have to be picked. A lot of times I look for offenses that stall within the red zone and give you more field goal opportunities.
That's what she's looking for. You couldn't have said that 2 minutes
ago.
ago?
Because of you though, I'm taking forever to get to
Hey,
it.
I'm sorry. We're going to move on to the next question.
Look, kickers aren't that important.
Flip a coin, roll a dice.
Flip a coin, roll a dice.
Cindy in Austin, Texas. The ladies are liking you today.
Yeah, how you doing, girl?
It appears that the Colts have chosen Darrius Heyward-Bey over your guy, T.Y. Hilton. So says she, for the number 2 receiving spot.
She's right.
Does Hilton get on the field only in 3 wide sets, or does he have a chance to do anything more this season?
He might only get on the field in 3 wide sets, but it's not about how often he's on the field. It's what he's going to be doing when he's on the field. This is a number 3 receiver in an NFL offense that's going to make significant fantasy contributions. I think, Andrew Luck's going to spread the ball around enough that both Darrius Heyward-Bey and T.Y. Hilton can be relevant. The thing is that T.Y. Hilton is not built physically to be that number 2 kind of big receiver that they need on the field when they're running 2 wide receiver sets. But just because you see him on third down, etc., and only passing situations doesn't mean he's not going to be valuable. I still like T.Y. Hilton as a number 3.
Okay. Cindy and Karen, you both asked very good questions. Just want you to know that. So, Michael in Ontario. I guess that's Canada, right?
What does he want to ask about?
Let's see. Who is the number 1 tight end for the Colts? Coby Fleener or Dewayne Allen? They seem to have almost identical number of snaps.
We're getting a lot of Colts questions today. I don't think it matters. None of these guys are going to really have any fantasy relevant. I would look elsewhere, because they're going to be using the wide receivers a lot. I think Dewayne Allen, Coby Fleener hasn't developed. As
he's
we've
got a
hoped.
rapport with Luck, doesn't he? He played with him.
He had it in college. He didn't have it last year, and he hasn't had it this year so far in the
maybe the
preseason
defense
either.
has something to do with that.
Coby Fleener is just not adjusted well to the pro game. Dewayne Allen would be the guy, but there's a lot of guys I have ranked ahead of Dewayne Allen. I would take Tyler Eifert in a heartbeat over these guys.
Well, who's the number 1 tight end? Was the question again? You're shirking the question.
No, I'm not. I'm comprehensively answering the question. I think it's too complicated and intelligent for you.
Right, the number 1 tight end for the Colts is going to be.
What I'm telling you is the number 1 tight end for the Colts is not going to matter. Go somewhere else.
I don't know if you got your answer.
Yes, it's going to be Dewayne Allen.
But you're in Canada,
so
whatever. Okay.
Trying to help these people.
Play over-under. Instead of using over-under, we're going to use more or less.
Another 2 minutes till I kill you.
Okay.
Over or under?
No, more or less, okay?
Yes.
And answer the questions, please,
Yeah.
in 1 word or more.
Okay.
Okay?
1 word or more.
Kenny Britt, more or less than 1,000 yards?
Less. I think he might
Again,
not
you
be
don't
able-
like the Rutgers guys
I
at
might not-
all.
I don't care where guys
I'm
went to
just saying,
college.
I'm just pointing it out.
I don't care.
Less. Okay.
Less. He might not be able to stay healthy, and Jake Locker's not that good.
MJD, more or less than 10 touchdowns?
Less, but I still like him as a number 2 fantasy running back. Maybe about 8 touchdowns.
I was going to say. Okay.
Yeah.
Arian Foster, more or less total yards than Ben Tate?
More. Of course. Ben Tate.
Well, I don't know if he's going to be healthy.
I think he'd be healthy enough to play. Definitely more than Ben Tate. Can you give me a real question?
I get these from the watchers. They put them in this, so I'm
okay.
just not giving the names. I'm trying to whip
that
through
was
them.
you, though.
No, not I said the pick.
Yeah. It sounds like a question that would come from you.
Panthers defense, more or less than 8 touchdowns. Now, somebody pointed out, the guy who sent the question, that after week 3, they had 6 touchdowns in the preseason. After week 3, I don't know what they did this
Less. Week. It's the preseason, and touchdowns are hard to predict in fantasy football defense.
They are opportunistic. They spent a lot of money and time on defensive draft picks, high picks lately.
They did. I think they're getting better, but they're still not a startable unit yet. I think.
Oh, really?
I think they're still going to get over a lot of yardage and points.
Okay. Phillip Rivers, remember him? Okay. More or less than a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio?
I think that's about it right there. 2-to-1.
2-to-1?
Yeah. Well, maybe 2-to-2, so less.
40 TDs, no good. Lower.
What?
30? 20?
You said 40 TDs with Phillip Rivers? You should be off this show.
I'm asking.
Yeah.
3 years ago, if I asked you the question, you would have said, oh, yeah.
Phillip Rivers is not what he was 3 years ago.
He's the
you
same
want to talk
guy?
about Derek Mason?
He's the same guy. Darren Sproles, more or less than 85 receptions.
Less, but still going to be
because
very
of
valuable.
health reasons, or he just doesn't get the ball that much?
I just don't think he gets the ball that much. I don't think the Saints ideally want to throw to him that much, but it'll still be very.
He's been getting it that much.
But I think he can catch about 75 though.
Okay. Vernon Davis, more or less than 10 touchdowns.
Less, but still a very valuable tight end.
So is he another 8 guy? Every time I say 10,
Seven.
I say 8?
7.
All right.
Yeah.
Same question for Jason Witten, more or less than 10 touchdowns.
Definitely less. He's not a touchdown guy.
They don't let him.
It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen.
Okay. Well, I'm going to throw in a question. Who has more receptions this year, Witten or Davis?
Or Witten. Definitely.
Witten? Okay.
Two different types of tight ends.
Lance Moore, more or less than the 1,000 yards he got last year.
I would say less. I think he goes over 900, but I think Lance Moore hit his ceiling last year.
It was better.
Yeah.
Okay. Last one here. Colin Kaepernick. A little aggressive, but nice question. More or less than 1,000 rushing yards on the season?
Less.
Well, let me just say this. I looked at it that way and I said, oh, definitely yes. But then when I looked at 50 yards a game, there's already 800.
I think he's going to be in about the 850 range. I'm not saying he's going to be 500.
2 long runs puts him over. You're very confident with
the long runs get him to that point. Yeah. I think.
Okay.
I think that's over generous, and maybe you own Colin Kaepernick, and a lot of times fantasy owners want to talk up guys because they have them.
Now's the time to work and strain at a sport that tests the spirit and challenges the brain.
Come on, let's go.
Yeah, I'd like to have 75 degrees and sunny all the time too, but that's not football.
Do you fear the force of the wind, the slash of the rain?
We're gonna play it through light and rain.
Go face them and fight them. Be savage again.